welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's dive into this. Today, we're unpacking the profound and, honestly, incredibly timely philosophy of Robert Greene on a topic that literally affects every single one of us: reclaiming our individuality. Look, in a world that's completely dominated by screens, feeds, and just this endless, exhausting stream of digital noise, how do we actually hold on to the very thing that makes us human? We're going to explore exactly how to pull yourself out of that digital numbness and step firmly right back into your own power.
Seriously, I want you to ask yourself a question right now. Have you ever spent an hour, or maybe more, just mindlessly scrolling on your favorite app, only to look up and feel like a piece of your soul just evaporated? Like you literally lost a part of yourself in that digital void? It is such a deeply relatable modern problem. We fall into this weird hypnotic state where the vibrant, spontaneous human element just totally drains away, leaving us feeling completely empty.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what Robert Greene describes in our source material. He says, I feel that soul it's like a vapor that's escaping me, that I'm just this kind of machine that's just processing data. I mean, listen to how incredibly slow and mechanical that sounds. Processing, data, not living, not feeling, just processing. Greene argues that to break this cycle, you can't just sort of wish to know yourself better. No way. You actually need to hit rock bottom. You need to reach a profound level of disgust with this whole mechanical culture to spark any real lasting change.
So, let's get into it. Section 1. Excavating your true self. Becoming an archaeologist of your past.
Once you actually have that burning desire to change, well, that's when the real work begins. Greene frames this not as some quick fix life hack, but as a deliberate, inward archaeological dig. Here's how you do it. Step 1, as we mentioned, hit bottom and genuinely want out. But look really closely at step 2. Grab a physical pen and journal. So the crucial point is, this process has to be highly physical. Absolutely no computers allowed. The screens are the trap. You need that literal tactile connection of ink hitting paper to properly reconnect with your innate uniqueness. Then write down your fantastical night dreams. Greene insists this isn't some woo-woo magic. It reveals the wild, uncontrolled journeys your brain naturally takes when it's offline. And step 4, revisit your childhood weirdness. Ask yourself, what actually made you different? What were you naturally drawn to before you ever cared what anyone else thought?
And that brings us to a really powerful concept. Adolescence is the crucial period where you realize you are fundamentally different from your parents. You know, we so often dismiss teenage rebellion as just a moody phase, right? Like something to be embarrassed about and shoved in a closet. But Greene points out that this is actually the most formative part of your entire life. It's the exact moment your core individuality first ignited. It's when you first boldly declared, I am not like my mom or dad, I am me. Reconnecting with those overwhelming, fiery, rebellious emotions is literally the master key to rediscovering your core self.
Let's move to section 2 and see how this builds the power of unpredictability and mastering the game of social dynamics.
Okay, so once you've excavated that beautifully weird self, how do you interact with a world that constantly demands your attention? Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the massive contrast here. We're constantly fed this modern myth of total transparency. We're told we should share absolutely everything, be totally in everyone's face, document every meal, every random thought. But Greene warns us that if people know exactly who you are all the time, the fantasy completely dies. They take you for granted and they get bored of you fast. But on the flip side, we have calculated mystery. By occasionally stepping back, disappearing for a bit, or doing things that completely scramble people's expectations of you, you create undeniable intrigue. You keep them fascinated simply because you refuse to fit into a predictable little algorithm-friendly box.
Which brings us to a very nuanced, almost secret idea: the veneer of authenticity. Now, I know it sounds a little Machiavellian at first, right? But it's vital. This isn't about being completely fake. Actually, scratch that. It's the exact opposite. It's a conscious amplification of your natural traits that adapts to changing times without losing your core self. You're just becoming intensely aware of the social game you're playing. You take what makes you uniquely powerful, that childhood weirdness you just dug up, and you lean hard into it. You basically turn the volume up on those authentic parts of yourself to create a calculated mask. It proves you can navigate modern social dynamics brilliantly without ever compromising the actual human soul underneath.
All right, on to section 3, boldness over timidity. Reclaiming your animal energy. This is where things get really exciting, because to project that authentic self, you need raw, infectious boldness. And you have to understand this. Timidity is not some innate personality trait. You weren't born shy. It is a learned habit of fear and deference adopted simply to please other people.
Greene completely dismantles the terrible myth that some of us are just genetically destined to be timid while others get to be bold. Think about it. Every single child is born bold. Babies are demanding, they scream, they know exactly what they want, and they are utterly fearless. You were born bold. Timidity is just a bad habit you picked up from a society that basically trained you to sit still, be quiet, avoid rejection, and spend your whole life trying to please everybody else.
And listen, you have got to break that timid habit immediately, because underneath it all, humans still operate on a deeply animalistic level. We are constantly, subconsciously reading each other's nonverbal animal energy. We pick it up through tone of voice, physical posture, hesitation versus absolute certainty, and the incredibly contagious nature of excitement. When you show doubt, when you hesitate and pull back, it actually repulses people. Unconsciously, they just don't want to join your team. But when you project genuine excitement, real confidence, and boldness, even if you have to fake it just a tiny bit at first to get the engine running, it is intensely magnetic. Greene points out that true excitement brings out parts of you, your wit, your humor, your charm, that you probably didn't even know you had. Your energy literally infects the people around you, and they will naturally, eagerly want to follow your lead.
Which leads us straight into Section 4, playing the long game and escaping the reaction trap.
Let's take a deep breath, ground ourselves, and look toward the ultimate horizon here. This timeline puts our modern obsession with instant gratification into brutal perspective. Look at today. People are completely trapped in blind reaction to daily news, immediately jumping to judge what's the greatest thing ever or what's completely stupid. But Greene points out reality works a lot slower. It takes at least 2 years to even know if an idea was actually good. It takes a solid 20 years to gain a clear idea of its true impact on the world. And it takes 200 years to know for absolute certain. So honestly, it is incredibly foolish to shrink our big, beautiful brains to fit the daily outrage cycles on our timelines. Instead, we have to harness the immense power of 2 to 5 year planning. Having a long-term direction filters all that daily digital static, and it gives you a profound, real sense of control over your own destiny.
Expand your circle of thinking beyond the tiny confines of your phone. This is it. This is the core message, the grand takeaway of everything we've unpacked in this explainer today. If you stare at a tiny 6-inch screen all day, your mind is literally going to shrink to fit it. But by reading expansive, challenging books, by intentionally seeking out sublime experiences that show you the incredible, weird, massive dimension of simply being alive, and by intentionally playing the long game, well, that is exactly how we expand our conscious human experience. That's how you finally stop being a soulless data processing machine and start being a vibrant, wildly alive human being again.
Which leaves us with one final, vital thought to chew on. What mask will you consciously wear tomorrow? And what piece of your old teenage rebellion do you desperately need to bring back to life today? The algorithm wants you predictable. It wants you timid. And it wants you numb. It's time to be bold, be a little mysterious, and go reclaim your soul. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will absolutely see you next time.